Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice bring you New Mexico Day Trips. Visit national parks, monuments, state parks, and historical sites. See the amazing and unique desert vistas of the Land of Enchantment and walk through the visitor centers, museums, and Pueblo ruins with us. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and flavors of New Mexico. Let's have an adventure. Hello and welcome to New Mexico Day Trips. I'm your host, Shelley Carney.
And I'm your other host, Toby Eunice. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I was talking to them.
Well,
I know you're doing good. I know you're doing good.
I'm doing good.
So, what's up tonight?
Well, we're going to talk about our latest and greatest trip to Los Alamos. Los Alamos is a little town tucked away in the mountains, just a little bit outside of Santa Fe. And it's a very pretty little mountain town with a hidden secret.
The hidden secret is that it happens to be one of the most important locations in this nation when it comes to our defense.
Yeah, and science.
Well, and science, and because it's moving away from defense. Well, one of the things that I was surprised to hear in one of the movies that we watched is that not only has the rest of the world, what's the right word? Eliminated, downgraded, downsized their nuclear arsenal. We have downsized our nuclear arsenal from approximately 40,000 weapons to around 7,500 weapons. Now, that's still enough to kill the world at least once over. But that means that Los Alamos isn't spending as much time in nuclear weapons research as they are in other areas of research, and they make contributions daily. It really is very different for almost any other town in New Mexico, unless you consider, some of the assets and resources like Sandia National Labs in Albuquerque. But for a small town in the mountains, it is very, very well positioned in terms of the industry that serves the government's needs and also science's needs, because that's where a lot of science comes out of. It's impressive. And it also happens to have the highest per capita income in the state of New Mexico in terms of the comparisons to all the other cities, including Albuquerque. So
now we chose to go there to Los Alamos in the winter because, well, we were going to be visiting indoor facilities and we weren't going to be outdoors that much. And it's, you got to do what you can to stay indoors a little bit when you're traveling around. And there is snow on the ground all around us in Los Alamos when we're there, but the roads were clear. So it was safe enough. And Toby and I did just kind of hang on to each other on some of the sidewalks where they hadn't salted or anything. And there was some snow and ice on them. So we were careful.
She's being polite. Toby was hanging on to Shelley.
I was wearing my snow boots.
So I didn't do that old guy fall down on my butt routine.
Yeah.
All right, let me do this as usual. We would appreciate it if before you leave tonight, you would like our video. YouTube likes it when you like our video. Share with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, the entirety of your social media network so that we can grow the channel. We are at 90 subscribers.
Yay.
We could get to 100 soon. And finally, if you are, well, not finally, if you are not already a subscriber, this would be the ideal time to subscribe so that you can join us in our travels around the state of New Mexico. And finally, make a comment. YouTube sees that as engagement, and they like when you make comments, not only in the chat room while we're live, but afterwards, after this video goes to a video. Pardon?
We like it too.
We like it too. We like talking to you guys.
Yeah.
It's another way to communicate with you all. We really enjoy it. So what else is going on?
Well, we didn't do a whole lot of shopping there. We did go to a couple of the little stores and got some pins for our vests. We didn't buy a whole lot of stuff, but
no, which is unusual. Usually I'll buy a book, but I've already got
lunch.
Yeah.
Late lunch, early dinner.
Yeah.
We didn't buy any books this time.
Well, I already have two of them.
Yeah.
I have it's not autobiography, the biography of Robert Oppenheimer, which I've read. And I've read 109 Palace Avenue, which was the story of that facility down in Santa Fe that did all the screening of individuals who wanted to work at Los Alamos or who were going to work for Los Alamos. She was responsible for the screening. So, and it's good because it's in what is now referred to as Sena Plaza, and it's right down the street from where I was born and where my grandmother's house was, the first house that I remember my grandmother having before they moved over to Oñate. So all these things have ways of touching you, in addition to that, of course, we used to go up to play, the football team used to go up and play football against the Los Alamos teams and our basketball team. And it was, as usual, we always had a very strong basketball team because of a coach named Dick Shelley and a moderately good football team. We, one year they'd win, one year we win. But we realized that it was kind of a moneyed town because of all the federal government employees and the federal government contractors there, had reason. And it still is that way. You can see the money just in the places that we were in. They put a lot of money into their facilities and their infrastructure. And the closest memory I have of being Los Alamos is, and I think I mentioned this, so I'll just make a short story. One of my associates, Sean Scott, who you guys kind of know, he and I were there on the 70th anniversary of the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima. And we were there with an I don't think they were anti-war as much as they were anti-atomic bomb group. And they were making a peaceful protest. And they had the city's permission to do that. They started at Ashley Pond, the park at Ashley Pond, which has a small stage. And then we walked down towards the gate, towards the front gate, which you can't get past. The guards were there. And then we turned around and walked back. The reason I was there, not necessarily because I was either anti-war. Well, I am anti-war, but in a very quiet, personal way. But they asked us to live stream the event for them so that it could go to their YouTube channel. And that's why Sean Scott and I were there. It's a good time. We enjoyed it. They were very, very good to us, and they paid us. So,
and we found the people there to be very friendly and welcoming. And in the visitor center, the woman that we spoke with there, I'm trying to remember her name, Pena, something Pena. She was really, extremely helpful and, whatever she could do for us. So they were, they're glad to have visitors. And to me, thinking about Los Alamos, you think, oh, it's a high security town. You can't even get in, blah, but it's not like that.
No.
They're glad to have you there and visiting, and there's all kinds of things to see. There's all sorts of free museums to go through. So, and a beautiful library that we didn't even go inside. We just took pictures of the outside.
Well, and we'll talk about why we did that. The Bradbury Science Museum, which is one of the locations I want to get to, is as good a science museum as it's designed in that new style that gives you a lot of interaction and a lot of the new science. And then they have a lot of things for children. As a matter of fact, they have a whole room dedicated to children's science and exploration and experimentation. So I was real impressed. Great museum. Certainly on par with the nuclear museum that we have here in Albuquerque, in which we've been to. We were at
kind of, if you took a combination of the nuclear museum and the children's museum in Albuquerque and put them together, because I think there was a lot more interactive activities
at the children's,
at the Bradbury.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it was pretty neat. You want to show some pictures?
Yeah.
So let me add that to the stream. So I didn't put these in the description box, but I will, so you have access to them. You know what I can do right now is I can create the link and create it and copy that, and I'll put it in the chat room.
All right. So the first picture you see there is where we parked near the visitor center, and that's Ashley Pond and the stage. And you can see there is a fountain in the middle of the pond, and everything's kind of frozen, but the water was working, spraying out still.
So this is the place that we started that the atomic bomb protest on the 70th anniversary of Hiroshima. And Ashley Pond, you'll hear us talking about that on the trip up. We thought it was a woman. Well, I thought it was just a pond, like it was an Ashley Pond in the same way that you would have
Charles Lake.
Charles Lake, right? But it turns out to be a person. So we thought Ashley, lady.
He was the director of the boys' school the boarding school that they took
over.
out when they came in, they took it over.
And the story of this boarding school is amazing. It was it was an encampment school. It was for the boys coming to the east. It was very expensive at the time from the east. It was like $2,300 a year, which is the equivalent of $33,000 or $34,000 a year now. And basically, they turned them into outdoorsmen. Horseback riding, hunting, bow and arrow. It was an amazing place. Anyway, when the government moved in, they took over the facility, so they had to close the school, which was kind of a disappointment because
I guess that's why St. Mike's became a boarding school in Santa Fe.
Well, yeah, but we didn't ride horses at St. Mike's.
No,
if I had gotten a
but
choice,
you did on the summertime when you went to see your
true.
grandma.
If I had been given a choice between St. Mike's and what they said this school was like, I would have taken this school.
Yeah.
It looked like a lot more fun.
Yeah, a little more out there though, isolated at the time.
Yeah,
that was the early 1900s.
So this is their visitor center, which is more like a chamber of commerce. We stopped here to find out where we could go to eat. We wanted to make sure we had already had a map of the locations there, and we'd already visited the National Park Service Visitor Center, which had another map for us. We kind of knew where we were going, but we thought we'd stop by, and it was a very nice lady. She asked, of course, what we were doing. She gave us her business card, and she told us to reach out, and maybe they could get some sponsorship for us, something like that. Very nice. Mm-hmm. So I was just impressed with this map. It's one of the best maps of New Mexico that I've seen because it had all the important stuff from tribal lands to national forests to government lands. It was just I asked if they had a copy of it, and they didn't, unfortunately.
She said they were updating it.
Yeah,
so
it was a good map. Very good map.
That's the Forest Service.
National Park Service.
National Parks.
Right. National Park Service Visitor Center.
And in between the National Parks Visitor Center and the Community Visitor Center is their YMCA center for teens. So,
and the
reason got it all there in one place.
The reason that the National Park Service is there is that the Monument Park, the one that is around Ashley Pond, is actually a National Park Service property. That's our selfie. We do selfies.
Those are the statues that anytime you look at pictures of Los Alamos, you're going to see these two statues, and that's Robert Oppenheimer and General Groves.
General Leslie Groves. So it was between the two of them. Groves was responsible for building out the facility. He was actually with the Army Corps of Engineers. He was responsible for building out the facility, and Oppenheimer was responsible for building out the science team. Prior to this, Groves had been, he was responsible for engineering the Pentagon. He built the Pentagon before he was given this project.
Under budget and before the deadline and everything. So
he had a reputation for it.
He was chosen to take this project on.
And he completed the mission. I only copied these. This is in the Visitor Center, History
Museum.
And these panels were really important because it started with the ancestral pueblos of the area in 1150, the earliest recorded. And of course, we're near Bandelier National Monument, which is a historic site as well. But I just wanted to make copies of each of these panels because after the Native Americans were here, came the homesteaders around 1887. And you can see when the last of the homesteaders left, they were homesteading this area to develop it in terms of farming and mining and things like that. And when the government moved in, not only did they move the boys' school out of there, they moved all the homesteaders out of there. Now, if you read it in detail, the homesteaders, although the pictures that you see of them leaving, they're leaving in wagons. Their wagons loaded with their stuff. And then they turned their homes into basically laboratories wherever they could before they started building the real laboratories. But the homesteaders that were there, when you homestead at the time, you would get 160 acres. They were given 160 acres in their choice of Arizona or California. So it wasn't like they kicked them off and didn't do anything with them. So who knows? They might be big ranchers and farmers. So this is the school that Shelley was talking about from 1917 to 1943. 1943 is important because that's when both the Corps of Engineers and the scientific community moved in to start the Manhattan Project.
You can see a couple of those photos are color, and I found that fascinating when we watched one of the movies that some of the film was in color and it was from the 40s. And I was just like, wow, these people were very well-to-do, very leading edge of technology to be able to take and create color
films.
film
Yeah.
of just them hanging around, the lake or going skiing or whatever they were doing.
Kodachrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
wasn't
amazing.
Kodachrome by that time had developed through the 30s and was originally developed for film. It was originally developed for Hollywood, but it was a 35 millimeter film. And that's when we went from 120 cameras to 35 millimeter cameras. And back then, if you opened up a roll of 35 millimeter film to put in your camera, you saw the sprocket holes. And the 35 millimeter cameras of the time used the sprocket holes to advance the film, but those sprocket holes are there because they were designed for movie cameras rather than still image cameras. So this is the Manhattan Project. This is more than anything else what made and keeps Los Alamos famous. The Manhattan Project was responsible for developing the weapon that ended World War II. Well, not quite. It ended World War II in the Pacific. By the time it ended in the Pacific, it had ended in Germany a couple of months before. The war in Europe had ended around May 1945. The war in Japan ended in the end of August. The first bomb was dropped August 8th. That's when it was when Hiroshima was bombed, and then 2 days later, Nagasaki was bombed. And we'll show you examples of the bombs. We took pictures of them. So.
And Manhattan Project was a television series that was actually filmed in Santa Fe. They had built a set around it was a college, I think.
The College of Santa Fe, the old College of Santa Fe.
Yeah, they had built a set there. They didn't actually film it in Los Alamos. So I found that, kind of interesting to see, because I'd seen the show, I'd seen the set. I knew, I was even on the set,
Didn't you do some?
I did some stand-in work. My
I
daughter
remember
had
picking
done
you up.
background on it. Yeah. So we had seen the sets and we had a feel for what that looked like, so that when we went, to Los Alamos and saw this, it was just like, oh, well, I see the differences now, because, in Santa Fe, you're not in the mountains, you're in the foothills.
Yeah.
Whereas in Los Alamos, you're definitely
you're surrounded by the mountains. Yeah. And Shelley's daughter, Alicia, was in that series. She was a background actress in that series. This area right here, the Los Alamos Project main gate, that building is still there. It's as you enter Los Alamos on the one road that goes into Los Alamos from down below, you pass by that building. It's the start of their particular tour.
Near the airport.
Right? Yeah, near the airport, next to the airport, actually. And then, of course, the entry into the Cold War that started with what effectively the end of World War II and the beginning of the competition for development of nuclear weapons between us, Russia, China, and the four other countries that presently have them. And then they had this imagery of contemporary Los Alamos, the high schoolers, et cetera. And what they had done with some of these buildings, that lodge that you see us going, where this is actually located, was the ranch house for the Boys Ranch. And it's been, it's seen several iterations in its life. I saw this, they had this in one of the cases there, and it's an old 35 millimeter camera that probably shot some Kodachrome. And this is where those of us that got into photography, this is kind of where we started. We'd get a hand-me-down from one of our relatives with a 35 millimeter rangefinder camera that you had to set the shutter speed and the aperture for every shot that you took. So,
Aw.
What's this? Millers are having a miserable vacation in Florida. Zach says, Dad, we should have went to New Mexico to take day trips with Toby and Shelley. You should have, because we'd love to
I
have
think you would have really enjoyed the Bradbury Science Museum.
You
yeah.
would have had a great time with it. You should have joined it. I know I've got daughters in Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida, and they're all complaining about the weather. So, which is unusual to hear it from them. So this is an interesting story. So this is a set of, they're not dentures, they're caps, and they're made from gold. And they were made for one of the scientists that was involved in a criticality error that occurred. You'll see it if you ever watch the movie. It's with Paul Newman about the Manhattan Project, the criticality event. And it happens when a young science who is trying to test the extremes of plutonium actually excites the plutonium. I won't go into I don't know enough about the science, but excites the plutonium so much that it starts to go critical. And the only thing he can do is pick it up and put it into a container, a brick-like container, to protect it from going critical. In the process, of course, he overdoses himself in radiation, and he dies a really slow death from this point forward. His girlfriend is involved with it, but there was another scientist there, and he had been affected by the radiation so much that they decided to put these gold caps on his teeth to prevent his teeth from falling out from additional radiation. It was like an interesting story, like who would have thought that was necessary? So that's probably, I'm going to guess, 5 or 6 ounces of gold.
Tail, a little too much.
That's exactly what they called it.
Yeah.
So this was one of the gentlemen a gentleman that was in the visitor center. We started talking. They were all very friendly, and they just wanted to tell you stories and things like that. And he asked us about our equipment, and I showed him. He saw the equipment, the action camera on my chest, and what Shelley was carrying, and then I was using my smartphone to make movies. And he said, Doug, I just got to catch up. I'm so far behind. I still have one of these. And he took out his flip phone, and he said, I didn't realize until last month that there was actually a camera that you could take pictures on it with it. But he was very proud of his flip phone. So I thought, let me take a picture. I said, so this is the front. Shelley always reminds me to get a picture of the front of the museum. It's a beautifully designed museum. It's this part, and it goes back this way. These are office buildings, some of which are associated with the museum. But the museum entrance is right there. I think we did another selfie. Yeah. Blinded poor Shelley in the process.
Looking into the sun.
I don't know. I don't remember this picture.
We're waiting for the movie to start. We're sitting in the back row in the little theater waiting for the films to start. And we took a little selfie.
Oh, we did? Okay.
We're sitting there waiting.
I just look angry, so I didn't know. I thought maybe.
You look surprised.
So this is Fat Man. It is the bomb that was dropped
on... It's a life-size replica.
Life-size replica of the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki. And it was actually different technology. It was a compression weapon, and that's why it's big. The bomb inside, the thing inside that makes the bomb is actually round. But they had to add this to make it, aerodynamic. And then, oops, that's Shelley. So I left this in the video. You got to see this. This is Shelley, and she's sitting at a chair, and there's buttons in front of her, and they simulate
the movement of earthquakes and explosions.
Yeah.
Different things and how they feel.
She sat there for, 45 minutes.
Oh, I wasn't there that long.
And this is Little Boy. Fat Man and Little Boy, right? It isn't Fat Boy. It's Fat Man and Little Boy. And this is the bomb. This is the acceleration bomb, nuclear weapon that was dropped on Hiroshima. And I always ask people, do you remember the name of the aircraft that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima? And everybody says
Enola Gay.
And now I can ask you the name of the aircraft that dropped the bomb on Nagasaki.
Boxcar.
There you go. Look at that. Nobody ever knows that. I used to ask that. Nobody would ever know what it is. We got some questions.
Boy.
Let's see. What's this? Hi, Toby. Are you going to all of the World Series of fan events or just the poker? I'm not going at all, Albert. I won't be there at all.
We'll be in
Socorro. Yeah, we'll be in Socorro. So the reason we wanted to take this picture, this is at the
Mesa Public Library.
Mesa Public Library in Los Alamos.
Really close to where the gate is, right?
Yeah. As you go straight, if you go over the top of that hill and down, then you're at the gate. The reason we wanted to take the picture is because it was designed by a friend of ours, an architect whose name is Antoine Predock.
Well, he didn't design the kids.
No, he didn't. But that's where I was going to put the coin, and I forgot.
So don't look for a coin there.
Don't look for a coin because I forgot to put it. So.
But look at that blue sky and trees. Isn't that pretty?
I wish it was spring, but it's winter. But the reason this is, it's classic pre-doc, because you look at it from any angle. Your first reaction is, oh, look, it's a brick building. And then you look at it from this angle and it's a concrete building. And then you look at it from this angle and it's concrete with glass. And then you look at it from this angle and it's got, design work. And then you look at it from this angle and it's circular. So it's classic Antoine Predock. He's just amazing as an architect because he incorporates, first of all, he's very functionally oriented. If it isn't functional, he doesn't want to build it. But he always builds with this variety of designs, and the interiors are even more amazing. I have a book by him that's based that they had a show at the was it the Albuquerque Museum that we went down to? And and he signed his book. He was there and he signed the book for me. And he's just the kind of architect that you can admire because of his work. He's in his 80s now. He still rides motorcycles, and he has a collection of motorcycles numbering in the 50s or 60s. He still has the first Vespa he owned and toured Europe on when he was in college. And the last time I saw him, he was riding a high-performance electric motorcycle on the road up to Sandia.
He does tend to try to fit his work into the surrounding area. What is, he sees mountains. He tries to, kind of put some elements into the building that would reflect that.
So, and this is the part of the library that faces the mountains. So he made it all round and
put windows,
put the windows in it so that you can enjoy the mountains. So hell of an architect. Look him up. So that's the view that you would get, right? So surrounded by mountains. This is from down below. I tried to get it all in, but it was a big library.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it all in one shot.
And for lunch or early dinner, we went to Pajarito Brew Pub, and they had an article in this year's New Mexico magazine. Well, last year now, 2022 New Mexico magazine, when they did a segment on green chili cheeseburgers, and they were one of the top 10. That's me at the Pajarito Brew Pub, and that's Toby across the table from me.
I don't know why I look so angry. You know what I noticed is, like, I must have opened my eyes like that. Oh, look, Toby can see through his glasses. My eyes are never that big. Okay, so there's
I'm a good picture
that.
taker.
Yeah, you are. Let's take that out of there. And Mary Green says, I met a guy that was a boy in Nagasaki back in the 70s. Yeah, there are more survivors from Nagasaki than there are from Hiroshima. And the reason was they were slightly off target. And they had warned the residents of Nagasaki that this was about to come. So a lot of the people moved out of the city. So by that time, what they were trying to accomplish was to bring Japan to the treaty table, because we didn't want to invade Japan, considering the number of losses we had taken on the islands as we got progressive. Iwo Jima and Saipan were just horrendous in terms of losses. They were prepared to sacrifice tens, if not hundreds of thousands of soldiers. And the guys who do these estimates said it would cost 1 million American lives to invade Japan.
But they had also talked about doing a demonstration of the bomb where the Japanese leadership could see it, and then the American generals had decided against it. So they just went for it instead.
Yeah. No, they decided they convinced Truman, because Roosevelt was dead by this time. As a matter of fact, when Truman came to office after Roosevelt's death, he had to be read into the Manhattan Project. He didn't know anything about it as vice president. So difficult time. Here's an interesting question for you, Miss Smarty Pants.
What happens now in the Fenn chase? What do you think? You're smart. What do I think? I think people go on about their lives. And for Toby and I, we're going to be going to look for treasure in dirt. So we have another channel called Garage Prospecting. It's on our old A Gypsy's Kiss channel. So if you're already subscribed there, you're already subscribed to Garage Prospecting, and we're going to be looking for gold in pay dirt. So I hope you'll join us there.
So yeah, I think it's time for everybody to move on, you know? All right. You ready? Watch the video. This is a long video, by the way. See what John says. I have an uncle who was present at Iwo Jima when they raised the flag. Wow. Did he get a picture, John?
That's a rare person.
So I do have
like storage wars.
I do have
it's like prospecting for gold in your garage.
I do. We'll talk about that. I'll answer that question. So I do have a specimen of sand from Iwo Jima, and the reason it was so unique is it has these little tiny star shapes, and it's white. It's very white, and that's why you'll see on the beach. But it's shaped. There's very star shapes, and the reason is they are made not from sand, but from foraminifera, which are small creatures, small calcified creatures. But there was a lot of them around Iwo Jima. So whoa. Garage prospecting. Okay, you asked, and I shall. Let me see. Can I go from here? Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, here's our channel because you asked. So our channel is called Garage Prospecting. And what we're doing is we are prospecting for gold in pay dirt. And you can actually buy the pay dirt. People can send you their pay dirt. You can go out and collect your own pay dirt, but all the processing for that pay dirt occurs in the garage. And tomorrow, we're doing an interview with a gentleman whose name is Coulter Young. He has a small manufacturing plant in Idaho, and he creates things using a 3D printer. The tall red one is a dry electromagnetic separator. It separates the sands or the pay dirt from the magnetite, from the black magnetite. They call it black sands, but there's two kinds of black sands, hematite and magnetite. And he designed that to separate the magnetite from the stuff, because at the end you have to pan it out. And then he also makes this small sluice. He makes a number of sluices, but this is a cleanup sluice, and I wanted something that I could do in my garage. And so I bought both of these from him. They're the ones that he's the one that got me interested in all of this. So he's gonna be on the show tomorrow night.
And
so
we found our first gold flakes today.
We found our first gold flakes. I should have put the picture up so you guys can see it. So
you'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah, you will. Let's see. That's cool, John. Oh, Nomadic Madman says, so go through these. He did Ernest Miller. That's the thing. My dad was at Iwo Jima. At Iwo Jima, Japan, in the Navy. Yeah, that's, at that time, what they were trying to do is make sure that the Navy could do it. The Navy owned the seas at that point, and the Army Air Corps, the naval version of the Air Force, the Navy's, although some of them were Army Air Corps, actually owned the air. By that time, the Japanese were out of battleships and carriers, and they were out of pilots. So I love that Coon Bee Stumps. Yeah, and they're pretty good stuff. It's great stuff. I'm really interesting. Sean Martinez. Long time no see.
Yeah.
Good to see you back. Yeah.
So that's right.
So yeah, join us tomorrow night on the old AGK channel, and we'll be talking about this. And then over the weekend, Shelley and I will be running tests on these two products, and we'll be making videos of those tests. And we do have pay dirt. As a matter of fact, Coulter sent me some of his pay dirt that he gets from his Idaho dredge, and we'll be putting it through the separator, and then we'll be running it through the cleanup sluice and panning out the gold from there. And then we plan to, I don't know if you guys remember when we were doing the World Sand Project, we used to give out pendants filled with sand. We're going to put the gold in those same pendants, and we're going to sell them on our Shopify store. So
All right, we better start that film.
Okay, we
because
better.
It's an
This
hour
guy.
long
It's an hour-long film, so we hope you enjoy it.
video. should
Ready?
Say yes.
Film.
Oh, we're on our way to Los Alamos. There are many things to see, according to all the guidebooks. We're going to stop in first at the Welcome Center, which is run by the National Park Service, I believe, and
I'll
find
bring you
out what
something.
there is to do.
Club soda.
Toby really wants
Yeah,
to go
whatever.
see the Bradbury Science Museum, so we'll check that one out. And if we have enough time, we'll also go to the History Museum, which is nearby. There's a lot of public buildings in that area, so we'll try to take some pictures of it, at least try to take some pictures of all the buildings and, make mention of them, even if we don't go inside. I've never been to Los Alamos because it's always been kind of one of those places that they say, oh, well, there's all this security and, don't go there and blah, blah, blah. So I've never been there before, but, when you read it through the guidebooks, it's like, yeah, welcome, come on, learn about stuff and visit all these places. So, we'll kind of figure all that out today. What do you think?
So I like going there. So I used to go there as a teenager because we used to play football against the Los Alamos teams. I had an uncle that worked there for 20 years after he left the Navy, and used to make the commute every day with his friends. So that's how I remember it. The last time I was up there, my good friend Sean Scott, who you guys know, and I went up there to do a live stream on behalf of an organization that was anti-war, and they were holding an anti-war protest and parade.
Thank you.
And they had made arrangements with the folks in Los Alamos to do that, and they wanted to live stream that event, so we did that for them. It was an interesting day. It was all outdoors. We had to rely on cellular services for the live stream, but it was pretty good. If I find that video, I'll post it in the description box below this one. I'm looking forward to the Bradbury Museum. I'm also looking forward to if it's warm enough, it's supposed to be pretty cold. It's a beautiful day and the sun is shining, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty chilly up there. But there's also a Manhattan Project walk, which I've been on. It goes around a lake. And depending on how warm
Ashley
or cold
Pond?
it is. Pardon me?
Ashley Pond?
Yeah.
Which was named for Ashley Pond, by the way.
Who's at Ashley Pond?
She was a person and lived in the town, and they
Oh.
named the pond after her.
Well, that was convenient, huh?
Yeah. Well, they liked puns,
He.
Ashley Pond. So anyway, what else?
That's it.
Okay.
We're looking for a fun day. A lot of it spent indoors because we are wintering here. But Los Alamos is an interesting place to visit. We'll do a time lapse. The likelihood, there is no flying drones. You cannot fly a drone anywhere around Los Alamos. We'd have to head back down before we did. So we certainly won't get anything in Los Alamos, but we might get something on the way back down the mountain because it's actually higher than Santa Fe. So, but it's an interesting town if you ever get there. We're not far from Bandelier. When you're in Los Alamos, you're not far from Bandelier National Monument, which is a great place to visit because it's the one that has all the ancient Puebloans that lived in the caves and hillsides of that area. So that's another good place to tour. Other than that, we'll be in downtown Los Alamos proper, and maybe we'll find a good place to have dinner while we're there, or late lunch.
And perhaps we'll get some information about the Trinity site and the open house day that they have twice a year. This year it's supposed to be on the 1st of April. So we'll get some information and see if we can make it down there that day.
And didn't Allison mention that the 1st of April is actually on a Saturday this year?
Right.
Yeah. We're definitely planning to go that. They have, the 2 days are April, and they do another Visitor's Day in October.
Right. First Saturday of the month. Or actually the third Saturday in October, because Balloon Fiesta is the
Gets in the
first
way.
2 weekends. So,
And then Trinity site is after that. So
yeah.
we'll go in April.
All right. Well, we just made it to the Los Alamos Visitor Center parking lot, and there's snow all over the place. So I imagine we'll be doing very little outdoor walking, but we'll see all the indoor places that we can.
Well, the sidewalk that goes around is still covered with snow.
Yeah.
So, but the visitor center is right in front of us, and so we'll go in there. It is hosted by the National Park Service, so I'm sure they have some things to help us navigate. And then we'll head back down Central because we went by the museum. So we'll head back Central to visit the museum. Okay. We'll talk to you guys in just a little bit. Yeah, project and describe Los Alamos National Laboratory Defense. No, I think we've kind of figured it out. Our plans were primarily plans to go to the Bradbury Science Museum.
Definitely recommend it. It has a Manhattan Project wing with original objects, and that's where the Manhattan Project film is, Racing Towards Dawn.
Do you recommend the film?
Absolutely, yes. So great historic pictures in it. My only complaint is I think you might have to watch it twice to absorb all the great pictures they have in it.
And then we thought if we had time, we'd go to the Los Alamos History Museum.
I recommend it too. Are you? How much time can you spend in town?
We're going to be here till around 4. We want to get out before the traffic heads downhill.
I think you can do both, and also know that on Fridays, the lab has an A/B schedule where they're doing whatever that is, 5, 4, 9s, and so half of the lab is off every Friday.
Oh, great.
So
Friday's a good day.
Not that the road is going to jam up or anything, but
yeah, I think you have enough time to do both, and if you're interested in the Manhattan Project, I would, because this is the historic district where you can go to buildings that were actually used
as part
by
of the project.
Yeah. So this string of buildings here between Central and Peach Street were the Los Alamos Ranch School that the government took over and used as the infrastructure start here. They pretty much took over this entire mesa, a huge area. 30 homesteaders had to leave their properties, and the school quickly graduated its last class, and it just grew from there. And you can see here's a picture that showed some of the buildings that ring the Ashley Pond that's over here. So if you had been here during the project, the main technical area was right outside of this building here. You needed a special pass, even children, a pass to get in to this closed army post, and then a special badge to get into that main technical area.
So I think I know the answer to this question already, but I'm going to ask. Is there any place around this area you can fly a drone?
I don't think so. I'm sorry, I can't say with absolute certainty, but I know the places can't. And that's any of the lab property, and that's any of the Park Service property.
Okay.
But then there's an airport here too. So
Yeah, well, the drone is set up so that it has firmware that won't let me launch if I'm in a restricted area, so. All right, well, thank you very much for your help. We
Do you
appreciate it.
have any information about the open house at Trinity site on April 1st?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I can tell you how it works. So, it's managed by the Department of Defense in the White Sands Missile Range, but you just. Let me see if I can.
The Fuller Lodge is a beautiful building.
So, the Department of Defense, they have their hours for it, opening the gates whenever they do 8 or so in the morning. You just go here to the Stallion Gate, they check your driver's license. They're supposed to also check registration and insurance on your vehicle according to the website. It didn't happen to me, but I was in a government car. And you drive the 15 miles to the site. There's an obelisk at Ground Zero. They bring out a Fat Man type bomb casing on a trailer and the site is ringed by fence that they have some wayside panels on with information. And after you've seen the site there, then you can get on a bus that the DoD runs to go to the nearby McDonald Ranch, and where some final bomb assembly happened there. So you can tour the ranch there, and then, you know, whenever you're done, you go back out the same way you came there.
So that's that road, San Antonio, the Bosque de la Pacha Road.
Right.
And if we continue to go to Carrizozo,
Yeah.
there's Bingham where that
Right.
rock shop is. So maybe we could do two things that day.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to go early if you can, right when it opens, or potentially also closer to closing there, because it sort of thins out.
Yeah. Well, they
But
said
it's
to get there
popular.
early because the parking is going to be, I mean, you end up parking a half mile away if you're not early enough.
Yeah.
So, all right. Again, thank you very much for your help. We actually have that book.
Very interesting place, though.
It looks like it.
And then, have you heard about the behind the fence tours here in Los Alamos that happen ahead of the Trinity site? That's how you can actually. So this is a weird unit in that nothing. The Park Service has no property connected with this park. It's all owned by and managed by the Department of Energy, and none of it is visible.
If I'm not looking at the
visitable, I guess visible maybe.
Right.
You can't go on any of it right now because it's an active nuclear weapons lab, and
Right.
so the next time you can go to what is actually the part of the park, the technical area 18, where the Slotin building is and the battleship bunker is, are the 2 days ahead of the Trinity site visit on April 1st. And so if you want to try and get tickets for that, they will go up on the Bradbury Science Museum's website. It hadn't opened up. You know, you make a reservation. You got to follow all their instructions very precisely, you know, proof of U.S. citizenship, etc. But then it's 3 hours, so take a bus ride over there. They pull out all the stops for their tours, having experts of many stripes to interpret things, and then bus back to the Bradbury.
We would really enjoy that. We'll make sure we keep our eyes on what's happening so that we can take advantage of it. Do you actually make reservations for the Trinity site visit as well? You just show up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, sir.
And what's over in that visitor center?
That's a county visitor center, so I would say a little bit closer to like a chamber of commerce.
Oh, okay.
So they can't, you know, I can't make restaurant recommendations, but they can, and can tell you about local businesses. And they got brochures spreading out a wider area around Los Alamos than we have here.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Sure.
And we're going to go over to the History Museum. It's just a kind of a smallish building.
Oh, shame on people.
Guest cottage. Inside, you'll be introduced to the early inhabitants of the Pajarito Plateau, the ancestral Pueblo people, and the homesteaders late 1800s to 1943. Learn how the plateau was changed forever in the 20th century by Los Alamos Ranch School, a boarding school for boys that combine excellent education with outdoor living, and by Project Y, the top secret World War II Manhattan Project site at Los Alamos, where civilian scientists supported by Army personnel created the world's first atomic bombs. Ta-ta-ta.
The ranger mentioned that those homesteaders were removed from their lands so that the Manhattan Project could take over the property.
Ah, the store. We found the store.
Oh, good.
Okay, here's the store. Books
So we just go through
and
the
shirts and books and glasses and mugs and all kinds of good stuff.
cocktail shakers.
Socks. Christmas ornaments.
I have a cocktail shaker, but if it's an Einstein cocktail shaker,
You got, ooh, we could put these on cans. They're koozies. I have General Leslie Groves, there he is. Robert Oppenheimer, who loved northern New Mexico.
So that's interesting. He must have served in Europe first. See that
Probably for
metal bar right there? The
maybe
rainbow
World
looking
War
one?
One.
No, World War II.
Oh,
Because that was the metal bar of the Supreme Headquarters, SHAEF, Supreme Headquarters of the Allied Expeditionary Force. That was General Eisenhower's unit.
well, there's what it talks about him.
Oh. U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, West Point graduate, led the top secret effort to build the atomic bomb. Oh, he supervised the construction of the Pentagon.
Oh,
Did you get that?
I did. I can get him again. On the side, profile.
So that's got to be Oppenheimer's gear. He was an outdoorsy
Exclusive
kind of guy.
education. Recruited students primarily from wealthy, prominent families in major U.S. cities. Tuition in the 1930s was $2,400 per year, the equivalent of $33,000 in today's economy.
I was going to say that's a pretty steep little number.
And here I was thinking they were like, you know, Boys Town or something, like criminals and stuff.
In Los Alamos, I don't think so.
No, well, it was Pajarito Plateau back then.
There's some high schoolers right there. I guess they were just taught, you know, how to be outdoorsy. And wherever you go, there's some tin work.
Candelabra, I guess. It's not enough to be a...
So it says, this example of New Mexican tin work representative of Spanish colonial design was displayed on the mantle of Fuller Lodge during the early 1940s.
Very
Might have
cool.
been one of my relatives.
You think so?
I don't know, could be. I can't tell. I don't know a lot of my grandfather and great-grandfather's work. It's definitely not my mother, but
Is it tin or is it metal, though?
it's tin.
That's tin? 'Cause
Yeah.
it looks pretty heavy for tin.
Well, they used to put sand in the bottom to hold it down.
Well, I just meant the material itself looks
Oh.
thick and heavy.
No, that's tin. Well, the other thing too is they didn't have sheets of tin back then, so they used those big square-shaped tin cans that were used to transport foodstuffs.
Oh, does that make sense? Alumni. It's the people who went to that school. Which is interesting.
In today's world, it's also called fundamental research. So for example, Mars was a robot running around, and part of that robot was built in the laboratory. But there are other questions like how do you really figure out what's going on for global climate change? How do you get really specific detail, not just a global overview? So that's the kind of stuff we can call basic. You're welcome. So you're making a movie.
Why out of curiosity, why the display of the martini glasses and the shaker? Where's
That's the symbolism that ties to that ties to Oppenheimer.
It does. I kind of figured that.
Oppenheimer, surprisingly, well, back then they didn't really appreciate smoking being bad for you.
Yeah.
So you see these pictures all the time of him smoking
Smoking.
smoking a cigarette. And then also you had drinking taking place. So that's why you've got these martini glasses here. Yeah, it always surprises me that even if you didn't have formal medical research saying smoking's bad, you still think a guy would say, I shouldn't be smoking a cigar, or I shouldn't be smoking a pipe.
So he enjoyed his cigar and cocktail.
And a lot of pictures that stay emphasize that. But he only lived into his early 60s. He died of lung problems in his early 60s.
Did he stay around this area after the project?
No, what happened, he was back and forth. So after World War II was over with, he's over to California where he sort of originally started out.
Uh-huh.
And so he's getting back into what you might call traditional physics. But then you've got the dealing with the making of atomic bombs in the Cold War era. So he's sort of coming back and forth up until about the 1960s. The same thing for this guy named Teller. He's also coming back and forth. Teller's really promoting the hydrogen bomb.
Oh, Edward Teller, I remember him.
Right.
There was a bit of a scholastic competition or
Yes.
scientific competition between he and
Well,
Oppenheimer.
Well, Oppenheimer is focused on getting an atomic bomb using uranium figured out and created during World War II. They're further down the road for that. Teller, on the other hand, wanted to immediately go for a hydrogen bomb. But that's going to take years more to figure out. And they're trying to get World War II ended and not drag it out for another couple of years while you figure out how to make a hydrogen bomb. But Teller was quite egotistic.
He had a controversial
He had
reputation.
a controversial reputation, and where he really did himself in politically is in when McCarthy era comes along, and anybody that had any sort of inclination toward what I'll call socialism, like having Social Security for old folks,
Right.
all that kind of stuff that nobody thinks about.
Medicare. Yeah.
Medicare. Back then, that was all highly controversial. Oppenheimer was in that direction. So Teller is brought in as a witness by McCarthy to testify
Against Oppenheimer.
against Oppenheimer, and he's implied that the way the Russians got an atomic bomb secrets was courtesy of Oppenheimer, the lead work there.
So
Nothing-
what?
Nothing came of it as far as saying that Oppenheimer really was that way, but it really messed up his reputation for a while for it there. And Teller was so nasty about it all that anybody in Los Alamos did not want to have anything to do with him anymore. So Teller moves to California for it there. And the fun thing about Teller is that when the hydrogen bomb comes along, this always amazes me about legalisms, you have to have somebody holding a patent on it. So when you see the patent for who came up with the hydrogen bomb, it's got Teller's name, another guy named Ula, another physicist is here. Teller is so upset that Ula is listed. He wanted to be listed as the one and only person who knew how to make
A hydrogen bomb.
Right, that gives you an idea of where his egotism went for it there.
So we were down south visiting Fort Craig, the Fort Craig site, and I remember turning onto off of I-25, going under the underpass, and then turning right onto Route 1. And somebody mentioned, I'm not sure how I got it, the information, that Oppenheimer had property down in that area, a ranch down in that area.
I'm not aware of that for
All
Oppenheimer.
right, okay.
The place that I'm aware of, and you see it in this room at the back here, is his family, going back into the early 20s, had a cabin ranch set up that's east of Santa Fe, not south.
Right.
Right there, but I've not seen anything saying that Oppenheimer had an additional ranch down there.
I'll see if I may have.
You might dig into, there might have been, given all the odds and ends of getting things set up, he might have to simply get a place to park a truck with a bomb in it.
Right, yeah.
Maybe he had bought a place so he could store a bomb there, so to speak. Right there, but I've not heard of him having a property for a residence down south. It's always been in an area that's called Perro Caliente hot dog.
Earrings.
No,
Cute. I
nuclear
see some
atomic.
patches over here.
Pardon?
They got patches and,
Oh, they do?
and pins. Yeah. I like,
She's really getting her movies here.
that's for our YouTube channel. We talk about places to go in New Mexico.
Well, for me, for this part of the state, the three places, each that are nice in their ways, Los Alamos for the history of the atomic bomb and the history of the Indians and homesteaders. Okay. Second place to go to is to go to Bandelier. And, okay, to go to Bandelier for Indian history. Work there. And a third place is to continue on to the Vaz Caldera for geology and volcanology. Those are the three big places for this part of the state. If you're interested in Hispanic history, there's just a multitude of little Hispanic villages all around northern New Mexico. We're talking 50 to 100 people And you can kind of get a sense of what was it like to be coming up from Mexico 200, 300 years ago, starting a farm in what's truly in the middle of nowhere, and creating these little bitty villages that still exist to this day.
We were in Abiquiu last week, so we do that as well.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you for your card here. I'll get the word out to other people.
We would really appreciate that.
Absolutely, okay? It says day trips.
Yep.
Where are you actually based, huh?
Well, he's in Bernalillo and I'm in Rio Rancho.
Okay,
So
so-
we're
okay, so-
kind of middle of the state.
Right flat down in the middle, so I'll get the word on there.
Yeah.
What help my sister let you know is, I don't have the weatherman's cooperating. We have these special tours.
Uh-huh.
Normally at 11 o'clock, a person will take a small group, typically around 5 to 15 people, as a walking tour. It takes them a couple hours to go through everything in this area. But I'll get this card passed on.
Oh, well, we'd appreciate it.
Because have you heard of Rhodes Scholars?
Yes.
Okay, periodically a Rhodes Scholar bus arrives, and they're having a guided tour around.
Wow.
Right there. Cool. So we've had times up to 40 people just jamming this place.
Well, bet. I had one other question for you, and now I forgot what it was. But I'll think of it later.
Okay, she'll be here.
So can we do that?
What is that? Oh,
That's the
bomb?
bomb.
Yeah.
That's
Man.
Fat Man. I wonder if they have one a little boy, and we can each have one.
I don't know. Do you have little boy,
I just have to look, I'm not too much into jewelry myself.
Fat Man bomb and a... I was looking for the other one.
Oh, I just knocked it out again.
Sure, I will take over for you. You might help them on jewelry in a way that I'll never be able to.
Okay, so I'm going to pick this one, Fat Man. They don't have a little boy. Why don't you pick one for
Yeah, I don't
you?
want mine to say little boy anyway.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm not a little boy.
So this is interesting because
This is Los Alamos.
I think this is the mailbox.
Oh,
okay.
I like that one.
Okay,
We're going to put this right here for now because we might find other things, okay?
great.
You're surely going to need some socks.
I'm still trying, if I didn't have a cocktail shaker, I would
Yeah.
get a cocktail shaker.
It's been pretty consistent over people.
Really? Okay.
Every morning. So we're finishing off with about 12 people for this one.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay.
Oh, this is really interesting. Like this is the history of this area in
Oh, it
a
starts over
room,
here.
right? It starts with the Puebloans and then goes to the homesteaders and then the ranch school and then the Manhattan Project. And then, whoa, it goes to the Cold War. That's so cool.
This morning was minus 31, coldest spot in the US. Yeah, it's cold. You know, I'm thinking, you know, you're in that canyon, it really holds the cold.
Here's Peggy Pond Church.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. At Angel Fire. It could be. Yeah.
Oh, William S. Burroughs was here. Big adventure author.
I know. Stay right here.
When?
It looks like around the ranch period.
William S. Burroughs. Was a young man.
Tarzan. Remember Tarzan?
Oh, yeah. And John Carter of Mars, right? Didn't he do that one too?
Which one?
John Carter of Mars?
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Maybe he saw Mars when he, you know, looked at the red rocks around here. He's like, oh, this thing, I think of Mars when I see it.
You know what? I want to get a picture of all these panels because they really tell
Okay. I'm gonna go in the other part.
Oh, I didn't even know Oppenheimer was married.
He's getting his bag of ramps and everything.
Oh, I visited that already.
Getting very fond of this stuff.
Did you hear what I said? I didn't know Oppenheimer was married.
Oh,
His wife was named Kitty.
accordion. Accordion to this. Ha ha ha. There's a little bear. Kevin McKibben, son of Dorothy McKibben, owned this teddy bear. Oh.
So this is the book that I read. 109 East Palace. And it was about the 109 East Palace was a place down in Santa Fe. And that's where all their recruiting started from. So if you were invited to join the
Oh, yeah.
project, you
You
went
met
there.
there.
Yeah, Dorothy
Yeah.
McKibben.
You had to pass muster before you were invited up here.
Oh, here she is right here.
What about Dorothy McKibben?
She was the gatekeeper to Los Alamos,
Oh.
ran the Project Santa Fe's office while new arrivals reported before proceeding to the Hill.
I see.
Official title was secretary, but work entailed much more as a liaison between Los Alamos and the outside world. They have a video if you want to watch.
We saw that. Oh, sorry. Is that Bob? Sorry.
Yeah. Let's
All right.
turn the camera.
Turn cameras off. Oops. Ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, smile.
I'm going blind. I'm ready.
I bet you they have a good
Blah, blah, blah.
I bet you
They
they have
have
a
a good
good
blah,
gift
blah,
shop
blah?
in here.
Let's go look at the map real quick. Visitor Center, Historical Museum, Historic District, shopping, dining,
I know.
shopping, dining, shopping,
I have no
dining.
idea what she's
I want
doing.
you to shop and dine here, so make sure you pay attention. Okay. Let's go to the museum. free admission.
Make sure you're in the shot.
I was getting you. Here I go into the museum.
Hi,
How are ya? Welcome. Is this your first time to visit?
it is.
Can I have a zip code, please?
Mine's 87004.
4. Okay, and yours?
87124.
87124. All right. Thank you. Enjoy your visit. In a few minutes, we're going to be announcing both movies that play at the same time. They do replay every 20 minutes.
Okay.
The one in the theater is a present-day mission of the laboratory. And the one in the History Gallery here to my right is the history of the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
So listen for the
And do
announcement.
they start at the same time?
They do.
Okay.
They do, and they play every 20 minutes.
Let me just read this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't prevent me from making photos and
No, not all.
videos. Okay. All right.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have a layout of the museum?
We do. It's right behind this monitor here. Let me show you. Just right here.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. 7 minutes for the movies.
All right.
Okay?
And the history one is in here?
Yes,
Okay.
in the auditorium.
All right. All right, guys, so what we plan to do, there is so much detail in this facility that, and we want to see some of it, but it's going to take a long time. So what we're basically going to do is follow the walls around, and so you can get a sense of what's in the museum. And we
You can
won't,
always go online and look up their virtual tour if you want to read signs more closely.
I mean, it's a very technologically advanced museum. They have all the coolest stuff. So, remember they were talking about that criticality accident? This is what happened. And one of the scientists, realizing that it was going critical, I'm doing what I promised I wouldn't do to these guys, went and retrieved the plutonium by his hands. And then literally spent the next 30 days dying slowly.
Yeah. Oh, here's trinitite under a magnifying glass. That camera,
Leslie Groves, General Leslie Groves, and
very fancy.
Director Robert Oppenheimer. It reminds me the design is of the museum is very similar to
Oh, you
the,
know where we should drive by? The library, because the library here was designed by our friend, Antoine Predot.
oh, it was?
Yeah,
Oh, well, we should at least get a picture of it,
yeah.
considering he is our friend.
Playroom.
I think what I was trying to say is this museum, the interior is designed very much like the Nuclear Museum in Albuquerque.
This is a good
With all
place
this-
for kids to hang out all day.
This interactivity,
It's
so.
free, and they got stuff at kid height.
You're on. No. Yeah, this would be a great place to bring a kid, no?
Look at these.
Put it to your ear.
The cord was too short. I'm like, hello. Whoop. What's it supposed to be?
They're all at. Is there a button? Sure. Oh. Bachelorette party in
Just about lost my
Dominican Republic.
birthday microphone there. Sounds like a Geiger counter for all I know. It did. It didn't have any. It just went.
Made the Geiger counter noise.
Obsidian. That's all it sounded.
Pedernal Chert
Oh,
and basalt and bandolier tuff.
So-
Obsidian.
remember last week when we were at Ghost Ranch and we were talking about Cerro Pedernal? This is some of the material that's up there, the Pedernal Chert and the Pedernal Obsidian. And that was what was collected by the Gallinas peoples and used to make their weapons and make their tools. And then they would take it and they would trade it with other tribes to get other products, you know, pots, maize, things like that. But that's what we're talking about. You can see, well, that is a big piece
There's
of
stone tools, projectile points, drills, scrapers, hammerstones. That's a big piece of obsidian, yeah.
Okay, we're going to continue our little walk here.
How electrifying are you? Try your hand at generating an electrocurrent.
Put your hands on each of the plates and see if you generate electricity. You're going to have to put your camera down. Here.
What are you supposed to do?
Oops. Oops.
What?
I had the camera pointed at me.
Oh,
Now we've got two cameras pointed at me.
needle didn't move on that one. Or that one.
It's the same
You need
show.
to touch two of them at the same time.
Oh,
Nothing? How about the two in the middle? Look at you.
a little bit.
You're generating electricity. That's why when you hug someone, you...
We are about to begin a 15-minute film, Racing Toward Dawn, in our auditorium.
Now we got to see if you and I can do
Please
it.
make your way to the auditorium for the History Gallery now.
Breathe on them.
That's what it said to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin the 15-minute film, Racing Toward Dawn, in our auditorium. Please make your
supposed to
way
breathe
to
on
the
your hand.
auditorium
Hold my
for the
hand.
History Gallery now.
Hold your hand.
Hold my hand.
Your hand.
Well, yeah, so we can conduct. Hold this hand right here.
Oh,
Just touch me.
now it works.
Yeah. We're a circuit.
Oh,
You didn't know that, huh? There's your camera.
science.
Science.
We're being all sciencey
Science
today.
and friends.
Be friends with science.
So there's a lot of interactive exhibits, which I think makes it real fun. Oh, real fun. It's secure areas out of service.
As opposed to fake fun.
The what, the what?
You can get into this area with that red button there. It's a security checkpoint, but they have the out of service signs.
Oh no, it don't work. Manipulator arm.
Looks like it's been unplugged too. Or maybe it's a
Meh,
new thing.
meh.
Let's see what this says.
Maybe you can manipulate with your phone. What'd you do?
Oh, it's a YouTube video.
Oh,
That's what we need, see. Put that all over the place. Just get a code for our channel and just have people go,
Stick them
oh,
every
yeah,
place we
wonder
go.
what
Just
this
stick 'em on
is.
women who inspire.
okay. I don't know what that had to do with a manipulator arm.
Yeah. No, I'm just doing the buttons for your church.
So that's a replica of the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima.
Come back in late 2023 for the exhibit's opening. Creating an updated nuclear weapons exhibit.
Oh, here's that replica device that they use for experimentation. Did they tell you what that suit was for?
Bomb squad
Bomb
suit.
suit.
Bomb
Okay.
suit.
So as Shelley said, there is an interactive,
Crystal.
it's on their website, the interactive tour,
Yeah. Go to their
where you guys
Bradbury
can
Science
see all
website.
of these things kind of up close and personal and probably use them. Can you tell I lost interest?
You're like, oh, I can stick my hands in here.
Oh, I'm supposed to put on disposable gloves. I don't know why I'm whispering to myself. I need your camera over here.
You need a what?
I need a camera.
Here we come. Where's the cartoon? Where are you?
So all the tubes are in the back there. I'm not going to be able to reach them. Oh, I think this is made for little people.
Little. Oh, the arms are way too long for little people.
Okay, got that. I need my opposable thumbs.
Scoop up the beads and sort them into the tubes or beakers. Try sorting the colored beads to represent different enrichment levels of uranium.
Okay, this is impossible.
Empty out the containers for the next person.
Just pretend it's gold. I need to get it against the glass. Well, I probably wouldn't make it as a nuclear scientist. We'll just put the cap on, make sure we can do that. This is really hard. Okay, these yellow ones are natural uranium. So I could give a class on that. Oh,
Of course, we found uranium at the uranium mine. And
Yeah, we did.
ran out
oh, how do you get?
because it was one of the displays.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm putting the gloves back in there.
Okay.
I don't think I'll try.
No, it's an experience actually. It's worth the experience. Let me put it down. But I think, oh, here's the chair. I should have pulled out the chair. It makes it easier if you're sitting down. I'm just trying to get the glove back to where it. Yeah. But
Stamps.
it teaches you the value of opposable thumbs, I think. Okay, so I think the only way I'm going to be able to do this is
What the heck you're doing?
It took me 5
Seismic.
minutes to
I
get
wanna
that
leave
glove
it
back inside.
so no one else can use it.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, we're in the seat.
I recommend
What's that?
sitting down.
Try to feel and see the differences between seismic signals from explosions and earthquakes. Sit on the seismic seat.
Okay.
Push the buttons.
Oh, there's Fat Man.
Earthquake.
So there's.
I don't feel anything.
Oh,
Oh, here it comes. Ooh,
what are you doing? Oh, a
I'm
seismic seat.
experiencing an earthquake.
Oh,
Magnitude 6.0.
oh no, I don't want that phone.
Okay. That was, it was all right. Like a massage chair. Here's the magnitude 9.1 from Sumatra, Indonesia in 2004. Wee, wee, ooh, ah, oh,
Shelley's having way too much fun with experiencing an earthquake.
ah. Oh, there that was. This is a chemical explosion. Kingdom demolition, magnitude 2.3 in year 2000 in Seattle, Washington. Here we go. Ah,
What is that?
ah.
Oh, what a comedian.
Okay, people enjoyed that. This one is a chemical explosion, 50 metric ton experiment in 2018 in Nevada National Security Site. Here we go.
Some Marine forgot his hat.
Ooh, ah. Whoa. Oh, maybe I should be lean back, it's more exciting. All right, that was that.
Did it tell you
Here's
to lean
an
back?
Underground nuclear explosion.
I just noticed that bar was there.
6.3.
I just thought it'd be more effective if my feet were on the ground.
Ooh. Ah. Whoa. Oh.
What's the last one?
Last one is take a guess. Earthquake or explosion? Let's see. Must be an earthquake.
Earthquake.
Yeah. More P wave energy than S wave, suggesting an explosion. However, further analysis showed that it was likely a very shallow earthquake. Very tricky business.
What a comedian.
Tricky business. Well, that was fun.
I'm going to go give this back to the front desk.
Oh, okie dokie. Countdown to Nagasaki. Well, there's the Fat Man.
Everybody left it? Yep, one of the boys. Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
given that to him once before.
Yeah.
He said, oh, that's mine.
Things to see in.
So much to do.
It's the old.
All right, guys,
Los Alamos?
that's a quick tour of the museum. As usual, we strongly recommend you come and visit. It's very informative.
And it's free.
And it's free. And there are a lot of interactive exhibits. You could probably spend an entire afternoon here.
And bring your kids.
Bring the kids, because they have lots of things for kids to do. Plus, they have a complete playroom for kids that they can experiment with.
Yeah.
So, strongly
Lots of stuff
recommend
to
it.
see and do.
Very nice museum.
You ready?
Yeah, you ready?
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to turn you off.
Well, that was our day in Los Alamos. We're going to find something to eat and head on home.
Yeah. So there's a
Oh,
lot
we
of
do need to stop by the library and take a picture, though.
the library was designed by a friend of ours, Anton Predock, our architect. But we wanted to say there's lots of interesting things to do here in Santa Fe, the least of which is this Bradbury Museum. No, I didn't say that right.
No, you didn't say
So
it.
at least visit the Bradbury Museum if nothing else.
Right, that's what I meant to.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause it's
what I
a-
wanted to come out.
Very interactive place to go. It's got a couple of movies, lots of pictures, lots of things to see and do.
And lots of things for the kids. So if you have kids, make sure you bring them with you. So
Or if you just act like a kid, do that too.
who does that?
Yeah. Who does that, little boy?
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed this. It was a good day for us. It's been sunny. I don't know if we're going to do a time lapse. Maybe when we get out on the
Yeah, there's
plateau,
no
we might make it
clouds.
there. There's no clouds, so it
Clear
wouldn't be an
day,
interesting
no
one.
wind, so that
And-
was good. It is
No,
pretty
I
cold
did-
though.
I did
Snow
ask-
still.
I did ask one of the rangers if they allow drones, and he said as long as you're not over the lab, but I don't think I'll risk it.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us. All right,
That was our day in Los Alamos.
day in Los Alamos. It was a good time. Really enjoyed it. So, Mary
Funny,
did
you don't
post.
seem to notice at the time when I'm interrupting you, but boy, when you watch the video back, you're like, you're always interrupting me.
I never say you're interrupting me. I just let you interrupt me, and then if I keep my train of thought, I come back to it. I'm not going to stop you from interrupting me. So that's the site. You guys can copy that, and that's the interactive exhibit that you can go to and see some
Very
of the things that
cool.
we saw. It's very, very well done.
Yeah. You get to, if you do the interactive online on their website, you can do close-ups on all the exhibits, read the signs. So it's almost as good as being there.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's fun being there.
It's really well done.
So we had a good day. It's a good place to visit. Those were like what we would call the three essentials. I think the fourth one would be the walk around Ashley Pond which is what the national
But not that day because it
not
was
that
cold.
yeah. Well, there was crunchy ice on the sidewalk. There were people on it. But it was crunchy ice. You'd be you can go
Yeah.
back there in the spring.
We
when
did
it's-
go through the Fuller Lodge, which was interesting. It looks like a place where they hold events,
Mhm.
For the town.
Mhm.
Pretty good size for like wedding parties or rehearsals or, organizational dinners and things of that nature. So,
Mhm.
really, really interesting looking building. Very, very woodsy.
It almost
really
looks
cool
like one of
building.
those things, like a big building you'd see made by Vikings. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
that kind of big logs.
And then right next to it is the History Museum. So everything's pretty close together. So if you do go there when it's decent weather, you can do the whole thing as a walking tour.
I noticed they call it the Historical Museum. After I wrote the description box, I noticed that they call it the Los Alamos Historical Museum. So, but good, very informative places if you have any interest in that period. Well, I mean, it's the period through right now. It's still an active national laboratory. But if you're interested in that period towards the end of World War II, from 1943 when they started the project, but imagine all the science that went into this between 1943 and 1945. They started from scratch. They started because Einstein wrote a letter to Roosevelt saying that the Germans were undertaking this very similar research and would
Who
develop
was
a
it that
weapon.
went to Einstein and told him that he needed to do that? Wasn't it?
It was the mathematician. Give me a second.
Somebody told Einstein that he needed to write that.
Yeah, because he didn't have the name that Einstein did. He was a mathematician. It was Neumann?
I don't remember.
I'll have to look it up.
I don't remember.
But he was another scientist, and he was very much aware of what was happening in Germany. You got to remember that a lot of the scientists left Germany after 1939 because they were Jews, and that's how they ended up in countries, as close as Britain and as far away from them as the United States. And so, but they were very aware of what was happening in Germany because they had contacts back there. And so that they knew the Germans were working on nuclear weapons. And so this mathematician who didn't have the notoriety that Einstein had at the time, he was at Princeton, went to Einstein and he asked him to write a letter to Roosevelt. And basically it was a 3-page typewritten letter that he wrote that said, here's what was happening in Germany, and that action would needed to be taken immediately in order to counter the potential threat of these massive weapons. And from, they started in 1943. That's when the project started, the entire project. And they had the three big places were Los Alamos and Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Hanford, Washington. And those three locations are still active in terms of nuclear weapons development and other research. And but if it wasn't for that letter from Einstein to Roosevelt, this would have never happened. And it was necessary. Now, by the time the weapon was developed, it was too late for Europe. The U.S. and its allies had already moved all the way into Germany. The Russians were coming from the east. They had gotten to Berlin first, and they effectively brought the Third Reich down. And that was, I think, Hitler committed suicide in April 15th of 1945. And by May 1st, they were signing treaties, Victory in Europe, VE Day, Victory in Lazard. Yeah, that was the scientist. So
that says Szilard.
It's pronounced Szilard.
Szilard.
Yeah. Where was I? So by that time, the war in Europe was over. I can't imagine that the rest of the Allies would have allowed a nuclear weapon to be dropped on Germany because of how much damage it would have done. I mean, that would have never happened. But Japan, an island unto itself, I guess they had it. Plus, at that point, the people who did this kind of research, as I said earlier, knew that it would cost a minimum of 1 million American lives to invade Japan because of the Japanese will to fight. And so this was a way to bring them to the treaty, to the table to sign the treaty. Non-negotiable, no conditions, unconditional surrender is what they referred to it as. So it shortened the war, but in a very ugly way. And then it was, of course, the launch of the Cold War. Every time when I was growing up as a child, there's a bridge that crosses the Santa Fe River, and I use the word river. What do they say? I'm loose and
fast and
I'm
playing
playing
fast
and loose with the word river when I'm talking about the Santa Fe River. It is basically a dry basin every once in a while when it rains it. But there was a bridge right across that went by my elementary school, St. Francis Elementary School. And every time we went across that bridge to my grandparents' house on Palace Avenue, my mother would remind me that's where the spies, it was a husband and wife team. Somebody remember their names. The husband and wife team, he worked in Los Alamos, and they handed the secret of atomic weapons over to the Russians in I think it was the year I was born, 1949.
49. So it was after the war was over.
It was after the war was over, and Russia was trying to catch up with our weapons program. So they had spies all over the area. I mean, Santa Fe was like it was like being in Lisbon, where all the spies were, all the Russian spies. Later on the Chinese, but so it has a wonderful history for New Mexico, and it's interesting to see it. And then if you go from there to the nuclear weapon or the nuclear museum in Albuquerque, which is just outside Kirtland Air Force Base and not far from Sandia National Laboratories. What? Kirtland Air Force. I'd say Kirkland again. Yeah. Kirtland Air Force Base and near Sandia National Laboratories, which is another big national lab. Boris and Natasha.
Maybe it was. No,
it wasn't. It was. They were Americans.
Yeah.
They were Jewish Americans, but they were Americans. I'll remember by the time this is over. So it was a good visit. We really enjoyed ourselves. You could tell by the picture taking, all the videos we made, and Miss Earthquake here was having such a good time. I couldn't help it, but I left it in the shot. We probably left a little bit too much footage in, but it's hard for me when I'm editing to take it out. What's that saying? Never let a shooter edit, or what is it? Never let an editor.
Don't let the writer or the director do the editing.
Yeah,
they don't want to kill their babies.
They want to leave everything in.
They were spies.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. No, they weren't Rocky and Bullwinkle.
No, Natasha and Boris were.
Oh.
After
we left the Bradbury Museum. We went over to the Mesa Public Library, which is their library in Los Alamos, and took those photos that you saw earlier in this show. And then we went over to the Pajarito Brew Pub, which was recommended to us. It was nice. They have pub food, I got the fish and chips, and you had a burger, right?
I had the make your own burger.
Make your own burger. You had the chips, potato chips.
Potato chips. They weren't as good as the potato chips as the
Abiquiu
Inn, but they were pretty good. I'm getting to like that whole concept of, homemade chips. And they said they served corn chips with their guacamole and their salsa.
Right.
So the homemade corn chips. But I like that. I like that homemade potato chip thing going on.
And they had all the local beers from several different breweries in New Mexico up there.
And New Mexico has this new and interesting law that if you're a brewery, you can actually sell hard liquor if it's made, if it's they don't call it brewing, distilled in New Mexico. So there's a couple of places that we go to here in Albuquerque that not only have beer, but they have hard liquor and mixed drinks as a result. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, because we're big alkies,
Yeah, because we're such juicers. That's us. Mr. and Mrs. You can tell just by the way we wander around museums.
Okay. Just to be clear, we're not.
We're not.
We don't do that.
We don't. Although we did have sangria spritzers tonight with dinner. So, but they're spritzers.
Telling on us. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to be here again at the same time, different channel, Garage Prospecting. We'll be interviewing Coulter Young, who is the owner of Mining Magnets, and he creates equipment for people to do prospecting at home in their garage with pay dirt. And here are two of those pieces of equipment that you can see, the electromagnetic extractor, which removes the magnetite from your pay dirt, and then the cleanup sluice that you use for
taking the gold out of your concentrates.
And then Toby wanted to show you a picture of the gold that we found today.
We were testing out the magnetic separator, the dry magnetic separator, and there was a little bit of a mess. We were planning to do this stuff in here in the studio, and we decided
you wrote magnetic mining. I think it's mining magnets, isn't it?
Oh, I did. You're absolutely right. I'll have to change that. It's mining magnets. It's mining magnets.
You got it right in the title, but you got it wrong on the screen.
We talked to mining magnets. Yeah, I'll have to. God, and he's become such a good friend. So he's learning to live stream as a result of it was his equipment that influenced me to take up this.
The gold?
Okay.
Because I promised him you'd show him the gold.
Where's the gold?
I don't know where you put it.
I think it's under here.
There it is.
So those are the first two pieces of gold that we found. So we thought, man, that's the first two pieces of gold we found. They deserve a picture.
Yeah.
In that mess that we made. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
It's good looking. Gold nuggets are always well, those aren't nuggets, but
yeah.
I don't want to.
This is under the microscope.
Yeah, under the microscope.
So they're about the size of
sand.
A grain of sand or smaller, very small.
Yeah.
Somebody's pointing them out to me, and I'm like, where?
So yeah, we're having fun with it. Just something else to do. We are for New Mexico day trips. We are going to the Mineral Museum on Friday, which is down at the New Mexico University.
New Mexico Tech.
Well, what's the full name?
They call it New Mexico Technical School of Mining and Geology. I think.
No, New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology.
Mining and Technology.
And
I got it kind of backwards.
It's the tech school here in New Mexico, but they have a minerals museum down there, and because we're looking for indoor things to do.
I should know the name of it. My son went there for a year.
He did go there.
I drove down.
He went there for a year and went like, "This is crazy."
Times to get him.
It was funny because did he want to go away to school? Was that kind of the plan?
No, he just did because we suggested it, and then he didn't like it. So after that, he went
University of New Mexico
to UNM.
Yeah, and he graduated from the University of New Mexico.
Yeah.
But this one is the New Mexico Institute of Mining Technology, and they have a minerals museum there.
It's a small town. It's not a very big university, but it is a state university, and it's highly regarded for mining
Mining and
and
technology.
geology and
Yeah, all the
technology.
technically, it's one of the top 10.
Most of the people who go there turn out to be engineers.
Yeah, it's one of the top 10 STEM schools in the nation. So, but it's in the middle of this small town. I don't know how they attract students there because
nothing
there's
there. There's a
nothing to-
Walmart and it's old.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But if you stay on that route, that's the route that leads us to the very large array onto Dadle. We just found out that there's a rock shop in Magdalena that we may want to go to, which is on that road. We won't do it this time.
Yeah.
But we are going to the mining museum. And also there's a woman there that is the expert at placer gold mining or placer gold prospecting in New Mexico. She's the expert in
Lorraine
it.
had a question.
I would call it flakes. I would call those flakes, Lorraine, based on what I saw.
I don't know what dust. How
Dust is
would
more
be
like
even
flour gold.
even more small.
Yeah, it's more like the flour gold that we said. Now there was flour gold in that sample. That so this is from a sample that that Coulter sent me, and it's about a pound. We're going to process it so that we get all the gold out of it. He said there could be at least. He said there's at least a half gram. So between the magnetic separator and the sluice, we expect to see a half gram of gold out of that, and that's what this whole thing is all about. You buy pay dirt, and then the hobby is processing it with these various tools and pieces of equipment. We actually did an unboxing. If you go back to our channel, you'll see an unboxing of about the $1,000 of equipment that I bought to do this. So,
But we also thought about, we're going out anyway. For instance, we're going to Socorro
Mhm.
to go to the New Mexico Tech University, to the mining, what's it called? The
Minerals Museum.
Minerals Museum. We're going to be in the area anyway. Is there anywhere around there where we could collect a bucket full of dirt? Why not? We're out there anyway. So along with the pay dirt, we're also going to be, finding these places. We got to make sure it's on public land, not private, not reservation, not military. And then we can, collect just a, small amount.
And process it ourselves.
Probably like a gallon size Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
dirt.
So we'll classify it. I mean, we'll dig it and classify it, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and come back, classify it even further, and then process it ourselves and see what we can get. There are placer gold deposits in New Mexico. They are few and far between, but there are some. Gold is still found in New Mexico. They're still looking for it and finding it.
Tiny
So,
bits.
tiny
Like
bits.
this. Like teeny tiny. But it's there.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that on Thursday nights, just for the fun of it. We wanted to use the old AGK channel for something that we had fun with, and we thought since this is kind of a crossover with New Mexico day trips, we can feed 2 birds with 1 seed.
Yeah.
Instead of
Or 1 flower.
Yeah.
It's gold.
Yeah, 1 flower gold. All right, guys. I think that's it for the night.
That's
Anything
it
else?
for tonight. We will see you tomorrow, we hope. And make sure you tell your friends. Check it out.
Check it out. All right. Don't forget, we love you. Yeah, didn't want to do that.
Brand.
I got to go over here. Okay, we still love you.
Wow.